personally, I feel like it's fine, but
It's very one possibility.
yeah,
That's for sure.
I mean,
It may be that, just casements are more functional to than to vacuum
yeah,
and so.
yeah, no, exactly. Yeah, no, definitely. So I feel like there's a logic to that being a case window. And I was inside this house, and I understand why they want the bathroom in that location. It's yeah.
Save the seat from her. Yeah.
No, hanging here for now until we do the joint meeting.
Yeah, for the
Yeah.
second. Yeah, so we're gonna actually suspend our meeting, have the joint meeting and let them take it our business. We are at 72, I think. So we lost. Okay. Good evening, everyone. This is the Design Review Board and Historic Preservation Commission of the Village of New Paltz. It's our February 9th, 2026 meeting. We're opening the meeting at 7:02. Thank you for attending. Just a word of explanation. Tonight's meeting is going to be in actually three parts. We're going to, because we already had things on the agenda, the Historic Preservation Commission is going to review an application. Then the Design Review Board is going to do the same. And then after that, at about 7:30, we hope, we're going to suspend our meeting and open a joint meeting with the Planning Board, and then we will resume our business after that part of the meeting. Does anyone object if we just defer all the reports and approve of the minutes to the second part? That way we'll move things along. So the first application we're going to look at is HPC 2601. It's Niels Fredrickson representing Dan Zimmerman and Carol Moscott at 130 Huguenot Street. This is going to be a preliminary review of an application for exterior work on the property. Could I don't know if, please come on up. Is it Niels?
Yes.
Okay, yes, I can tell by the board. Yes, please come on up. Are your clients here as well?
Yeah.
Okay. Great, welcome. If you're more comfortable, actually, yeah, that would be just perfect. Thank you very much. Please be seated if you're more comfortable. So our process is ordinarily two parts. Tonight is our chance to get a sense of the project, which we've all looked at and done a site visit for, a chance to ask you questions and get answers, and then we would schedule a review and we hope for a decision a month from now. Okay, so that's great. I think that everybody's familiar with the object of the application. Is there anything you wanted to say before we get to just a handful of questions?
Not necessarily. I mean, I think it's a really minor alteration.
Yeah.
Nothing to be seen from the street. A couple of materials should be matched in kind. Again, the intention is to not disrupt the character of the farm that already exists. So again, I'm happy to answer any questions, but it's relatively minor.
Right, sure.
We're gonna do it in the larger scale photos and then elevations.
And Sarah can project them as well. That's often pretty helpful. Yeah, I'm looking at everything on a small screen and it doesn't have. So I'll just run down a couple of my questions. So in the application, there was the siding was mentioned as natural in part of the description and composite in another.
Right, so on the roof, so you see that fan on the bottom of the screen porch there?
Yeah.
It's like a bevel channel siding and just as a clear coat on it. So the intention is to match that. They may replace it in kind. It's probably weathered, so it'd be hard to match and lap at. But the intention would be to match that in kind. So we would have a very light colored wood tone on the bottom where the infill is. The rest of the siding and the trim have this dark charcoal paint on. So for the new trim and the slatted street, deck on the side there, we'll use a product, the Boral. I don't know if you're familiar with the product. It's the wood fly ash composite. BORAL. Make true exterior. Lay on it down.
Okay,
It's more dimensionally stable and rock resistant than it would be, since the paint would be one of the difference on that portion there.
okay, that clears it up completely. Couple of us were wondering about the casement window on the north side.
So they currently the 4.5 bath. There's a bedroom upstairs and then there's a small guest bedroom on the first floor. I assume it's going to be used as an office the majority of the time, because really it's a much smaller house than it seems to be.
No, it's.
And the current bedroom has a small. The proposed plans, but it's really just a powder room with a stacked washer and dryer. So the washer and dryer is going to be relocated to the new bedroom that we're finishing here. And we're going to squeeze in the smallest shower that we can. We can't get it to work without narrowing that window just ever so slightly. The last thing we want to do is have water splash, and that there's only a good way to detail that. So we're keeping the height of the window, but we're pulling it in just a little bit, and we'll patch the siding on the outside. I think it'll be indistinguishable. Once.
And your definition of patching is taking it out to the logical seam.
I mean, it's that diagonal. It's a little hard to see in this photo.
Oh, that's
This is
great.
all diagonal siding.
Right.
I think it's tongue and groove, so it's up to the contractor, see how much he has to peel back to replace them. I'm assuming he'll have to replace full lengths. Again, if he, for whatever reason, has to repaint or restain that side, so be it. The intention is to make it indistinguishable from.
I mean, that's definitely something we would want to see is patching that doesn't look like patching.
Oh, no,
Is what you've seen.
They already have a contractor on board.
Okay.
With lighting. Very sensitive.
Contractor's done some work already, right? Or they've had somebody do some work
When,
last month.
I think. I wasn't involved with that portion. I think maybe they had bunk beds in somewhere.
And the window trim would match the existing.
Correct. It's just 6 foot 5/4 cases. They may even be able to reuse what's there since we're downsizing the window. And then the roof that's existing over the screen porch, we're just going to extend that, so the rafters will have the same slope, the same sizing. So they're just going to probably peel back first front and leave that in. It's a metal roof.
Shane, did you have a question?
No, I mean, I guess on the east elevation where you have the deck with like the kind of privacy screening. And where that meets here, look at like this connection right here, like I see in plan, it's lined up and like the fascia is shown continuous.
Right, so
But I guess, you might just want to think about how that meets, I don't know, even if it's just like a half inch,
Well,
it's pulled back.
So currently the railing butts into the existing siding. Since there's a new build, we're adding R10 continuous installation on the outside, which will add about 2 inches thickness there.
Okay.
So the clear finish will be proud of that,
Okay.
and then the slatted enclosure will die into that. The same way that it does now.
Okay, great.
Questions?
I guess my only question was, whether the size of the windows, would meet the size of the original screen porch from the.
We're doing exactly that, so we're moving a structure, all the posters staying in place. I found the closest, non-custom size to match that, it's within a few inches of the opening. So it allows us to shim that and install that there.
That's good.
There's French basements as well, so there's no, they'll open.
Over the past few months, we've published two of our most popular videos.
And these are-
EDC backpack.
And these are clad, right? The Marvin clad.
Yep.
So I don't, those are like standard colors, so is,
The existing windows are flat.
okay, and it's also,
We're matching it.
okay, perfect.
So we're matching
That's-
the finishes of the.
Okay,
Cause I know it's like, it's really expensive to have Marvin do like a custom color on the cladding. It's like twice the price of them.
Yeah. Stephen, any-
The south view, the shrubberies is going to remain there.
There's no landscaping that's going to be touched, to my knowledge.
okay,
That's
that's something.
not with my involvement.
That raises a related question for me. So the design is very good. But there's a lot more, because it's no longer a porch, there's definitely an appearance of mass that I think is mitigated by the shrubbery. So that's something you might. take back to
I
your
would, yeah,
clients.
relay that back to them.
It's probably a positive just to leave that alone. It sort of breaks up.
I think there's a reason that they bought that property. It's, it's directly across the street from the sanctuary. They're, love the outdoors. They actually want this to store their kayaks and their bikes there. So I think they'll they'll agree with your thing.
That's, is everybody fine with the casement window?
Yeah.
Yes, I mean, I figured it was driven by something going on inside.
Yeah,
Um,
just a very tight fit. And I mean, ultimately, none of this can be seen from the street.
Yeah.
If you grab a tree, a dry fly, you can probably see it a couple hundred feet down.
There's not much to see. in this.
No, I live across the street and there's not much to see.
This sounds great. Building permit can't be issued until we have that next meeting, March 9th. I actually will have to miss it, but all my colleagues will be here. Our secretary, Sarah, you communicated with, she will convey the instructions on noticing it, because it's the historic district. We're going to have to offer a public hearing. That public hearing will have to be announced in the local paper and signposted. And there's also a requirement for sending out letters to the immediate neighbors and signing an affidavit.
Don't lose you guys.
It's
Yeah.
pretty straightforward. Great. Thanks.
All right.
So we all good? Okay,
Okay.
so see you in a month.
See you.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
So Sarah will schedule public hearing for March 9th. And after the meeting, you and I will talk about how to get the notifications. So for the purposes of minutes 25 or HPC 2601 is scheduled for public hearing. Great, thanks. The next bit of business is a design review board application. This is DRB 2504 Westview Development LLC. It is a follow-up meeting, actually the fourth meeting for the project at 147 to 151 North Chestnut Street. This is following our May 2025 review. Let's see, we're inviting. Good evening. Are you Scott?
I am Scott.
Scott, welcome.
Thank you very much. And I see Max is on the screen.
Hello,
I believe
Max.
Max may want to say something.
Good evening. Maximilian Mahalik with the law firm of Cuddy and Fader on the behalf of the applicant. And we're also joined here this evening on Zoom with Danielle Carr, our landscape architect.
Okay, terrific.
Thank
Thank you.
Thank you. Scott, if it's okay with you, I just had a couple opening points.
Sure, go right ahead.
Great, thank you. Thank you for taking the time this evening to consider this resubmittal. As noted by the chair, this is a return. We've been before this body on 3 different occasions, and then just so everyone knows, this past summer, the planning board granted site plan subdivision and special permit approval. We've been working through the fall into the new year with Fisher Associates. Scott is with Fisher Associates. He's standing before you, or possibly sitting before you. I can't see that angle. But we've been working on refinements to the proposal in response to comments received from this body, as well as in the process of developing our construction drawings. These refinements are specifically related to the facade and fenestration. We also noted in our submission that we wanted to respond to comments from this body regarding landscaping on the west side. So when we went back to the planning board before the planning board approval, we intensified the level of screening along the western property line to minimize light trespass for homes on Huguenot Street. And also I mentioned refinements to the proposal. We also removed the rooftop deck and the railing related thereto. Now we have the common tenant space interior to the building, and that's going to reduce any visual impact that might have been connected with that rooftop. That was a change made in developing those construction drawings and responding to this body's comments. I do want to note that there's been no change to the overall massing of the project, no change to the square footage or the unit counts. I'll defer to Scott on walking through on those architectural refinements and clarifications and to show how we've been responsive to the comments received. And we're happy to answer any questions. And of course, as I mentioned, we have Danielle here too, who can assist on questions related to the landscaping plan. But thank you for your time and hoping to move this towards final approval if this board wishes to go there this evening. But again, thank you.
Thank you very much, Max.
Yeah.
Thanks. Scott, before you begin, and that would be just in a second. So colleagues, the fact that the landscaping plan was approved by the planning board at the end of May, I think that answers the minor questions slash cautions we had. So I don't think we need to have another word about that unless anybody feels otherwise. The removal of the roof deck as part of the plan removes the railing system, which we talked about in, I think, 2 of the 3. Correct. And that too is moot now. So we're really just focused, I think, now on the fenestration and on the facade.
Right. Yeah.
So with that in mind, please go ahead.
What I've done, as I know you've had the application, has everybody had a chance to look over it pretty well? So as Max was saying, that we did remove several things, which actually negates us to have a conversation. So a couple of the things I just want to point out is, before we go into all the specifics, one of the things that was presented previously prior to our involvement was the facade at beginning with the glass at the bottom and the columns. We ended up changing the structure. That was supposed to be, and as time went on, we ended up doing that. I know you've seen the packages, we'll go over a little bit. So that is something that we finesse. I think it's important, and you saw in the plans that we submitted, the footprint has stayed the same. Very slight modification on the top, but it's all the same square footage and the same number of apartments. So we didn't change any of the intent. I think, you know, Max was saying it before, when we're doing projects like this, as we get into the construction documents and everything, it's a matter of refinements that we're doing. So one of the things I just wanted to say, I'll go through some of the specifics in a second, but I do know that you guys have some questions on the facade. Our goal, obviously, all of us want to have a nice building that feels good. Obviously, Pulse wants one, you know, and we know the site really well. It is a site that's not part of downtown, it's on the outskirts, it's beginning. So one of the things that we're trying to do is we're trying to do something that's kind of nuanced and sophisticated that can be built, but it kind of sets a new trend out there. I know there's a couple buildings being built there, and I'm aware of that to scale. And we tried, our goal has been to address some of the things that were bigger picture, talk about the word monotony or monotonous or the fear of or the concern for, came up a few times. And obviously I wasn't present at those, but it's a straightforward word. So I understand that. So we really try to do that, do some of the things that will help do that between different textures and withers of windows. Because one of the things that leads, in my mind, one of the things that leads to monotony is extreme repetitiveness. And what we're trying to do when you look at it, we broke it up into three parts. And then within those three parts, we actually broke down the facade. And as you got closer to the center, you can see the window openings and the materials that we're using, the bronze color, they get a little bit larger and as they go out, they get a little smaller size. It's an illusion of perspective, but it gives you a lot of variation as you're driving by and everything. Because a lot of times, a lot of buildings are repetitive, they just become redundant. So whether we agree with that or not, that's what we're doing. That's what we're trying to do. So now you guys have all the drawings. Probably the easiest way to do this, if you wouldn't mind going to the drawings part on this. We did submit extra. I'm a big believer. I'd rather give you more information than less. So did everyone get a chance to look at these plans, where we showed the subtle changes, and everybody have any questions on these? You can go to the next one, sir. Thank you. And you can see where I was discussing, the facade, since we ended up going, and we flushed out the face, we did other ways of manipulating, which I'll talk about a little bit on the facade. But that is the only real major change. The only thing on the plan, that was changed, that was asked for, was making sure the trash access was separate. We've done that. And we agree, that's just good plan. So we've done all that. You can go to the next one, Sarah. And you can see what we did is the red shows, what the building footprint was originally. We just wanted to show that we were adhering to it, that we really wanted to abide by everything that was approved. So that stays right in check, and it's the same, like I said, same square footage, same number of units, same breakup of units also, so breakdowns. You can go to the next one. Yep, and that's all the same. You can go on. And keep on going. All right, and we showed this is, I know this isn't part of some of the discussions, but we're trying to show a sophistication level and it's just a nice sense of design and doing stuff. You can see the windows and everything. We're staying away from repetitiveness as much as possible. Okay. There's a few of these pages. It was more complimentary, so you guys could have it and see it. I do want to say I do have samples here, and I'm happy to pull these out. So where to get those, Logan? Yeah. Thanks. So to recall, this is what was proposed. And obviously there was more sheets, but this is, that shows a lot of things that were discussed. And I'll show you, I know there was a metal facade being proposed and everything, and some of the questions that came out of it. So if you go down to, and these were real quick, all we did for our sake was we went through all the notes very thoroughly. And these are the things that we pulled out, have been addressing. So we were paying attention and listening. This is here. This is what the longboard. You'll see the renderings in a second. These are the ones, these colors, and you'll see variations on the facades. These are the ones on the upper two floors. Okay. And when we show you, I can show you where they are. And then we have two others. This one's a bronze, which is on the lower floor, and we'll see in a second. And then this one, we call it the bookends or the standing soldiers. These are the ones on either side of the entry. It's the same type of material. It's just a little bit different undulation. It's the same. So, and what you're seeing is this one is a little hard. It's a little dark here, but everything that we show you later is how the curve works. We work very closely with manufacturers rep. They have 4 and 6 inch. We did the 4 inch, and it gives you this radius. So we're working within the radiuses they have, so we can get it to curve. So obviously, it's going to be a little segment. It's curved.
Yeah,
it's just like this.
that was definitely one of the questions that we had in an early iteration, the, plan called for timber that, you know, could be sawn to size, and then we really wondered how this radius would work, and it looks like
Works really well.
it's gonna work. Yeah.
It's a nice looking product. You can see it all withstand the winters that we're having this year, more or less. So you can go next one. And you can see there's more down the road, but this is kind of looking at some of the sections that you were starting to ask for. This color right here is represented on this what I call the standing soldiers. Here, which is on the other side. And you'll see the full renderings, which I know you saw earlier. And then this color here is on the bottom. Portion. Here you go. Thanks. And this is just showing the detail. This is the radiuses we actually have. And we work with the manufacturer to do it. We're working with the framer. So we can get all the framing correctly so we can mount it properly. So we've got all that detail and it'll work. I think it's a really nice product. And then this is a detail. Do you mind going up to the first sheet of the package? Not the letter.
Not the letter, but
Yeah, not the letter. No, I'm sorry, go back down. I apologize. So this package,
oh, but yeah.
the one that was submitted to Carmen. Thank you for one. There's a lot of sheets, isn't
Yeah.
there? Yeah, right there. Yeah, that one. Down, yeah, that one, yeah, with the. So the one I was just showing you is a representation of that same area. So some of the things that they were doing, we just couldn't make, it just couldn't work. So we had to refine it a little bit. So that's just to give you an image of it, you know, on the back. So what we did is we ended up having storefronts at the bottom and the longboard and no, right there. Yes, thank you.
So the storefront now aligns with the face of the second and third floor. It's not like pulled back anymore, right?
That's true. Yeah, one of the comments you had is to transition down into this, you know, we have metal bands, we're actually using the same as we have at the top. You can see it's a bronze color. So we're having that, and what we're doing for the undulation of the building is we're actually doing canopies all along, which you'll see in the renderings pretty clearly. This one wasn't really meant to show that, but we have a main canopy at the main entry and then overall the retail and lines. It's storefront. Yeah. And this is starting to show, and you can see some of the rhythms I was talking about, how it's much more dense as you get to the center. And then what it does is it starts articulating and breaking it down. So what's really neat is as you drive by it, the whole thing, it feels so different as opposed to being just repetitive, where most people do that. Then we got it broken down, and as you know, we turn the corner, it's three-dimensional, and then in the back, it's got a different, some different things going on. So it's got a lot of activity in the building, but we were trying to make it so it worked and it gave it a lot of interest and nuance. So we do have the storefront, and then we have the longboard in between, as opposed to all glass, as I had before. And then the center portion that you see, the whole idea is to break it up, and it's obviously inviting as an entry. And the goal is to, you know, have some transparency because the trail's back there. So one of the things we were trying to do is get it to become really three-dimensional in terms of the way you can see through it. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of lights and activity in the at the retail level. We don't know what that is yet. They're still working on that. But whatever they do, we'll have, you know, signage and activity and everything. This is the longboard. So these are the three colors I was talking about. And what you'll notice we did is we had them going all the way up with the same colors and varying it that way. Because I personally, it's a personal thing. I've seen too many buildings where they do too much like this and it gets just too busy. But I thought this was a nice nuanced way of doing it. It's a little bit more sophisticated. So, yeah. And then really this is what you have. And that's a realistic depiction of it. We were doing some nuanced things up on the upper floors. Those are all the bronze. So this piece right here goes along with the windows, which are also bronze. So it feels all tied together. And then at the bottom again, it's bronze, but it's this all the way across. And then the two, I call them the standing soldiers. This color. And then. Yeah. You can see there's a sheeting to it. This is what they call pack five, which is a very cool. It's a metal veneer.
The central section.
Yeah, that's just the center portion. And then what we did is in the standing soldiers out of this, we used black windows to make them differentiate themselves. And then when we were in the middle of that, we used bronze windows to sort of tie it together.
Thank you, Scott.
That's-
That's very helpful explanation.
Sarah, is it possible to pull up the last iteration of the rendering so we could,
The very last one.
or just say what was previously, like what we last reviewed, what was in May?
Oh, in May.
That might be tough, but I'm kind of getting lost like with all the changes. It might
There are a lot of
help,
changes.
might help to see the two side by side.
Yeah.
You want me to pull up from May?
Is that possible?
Is that
Oh,
something-
the old rendering.
Yeah, it'd be nice to see
Yeah.
them side by
Sorry, I
side.
think it will just help us kind of,
I can look through the files I have here. Unless Scott, you happen to have it something on your end, but I
I did not have. the
Scott's
rendering.
going analog, so,
Yes,
So I will try to find it.
yeah,
and that was back, I think the last presentation was
May,
May.
May 25. And that would have been the design that the planning board saw. What we're seeing tonight is we're the first board to see this iteration of the design. So,
That's correct. They were fine, they approved everything. They just asked us to come back and make sure. This was okay.
One of the conditions of the approval was to return to this board to show the changes. And then if they're significant enough, they may have to come back to the planning board, but based on what I've just seen, if your board approves it, I think we're probably, because much of it, as you said, is removal.
Yeah.
Of items that were on the site plan.
And that was our intention, was to really understand the spirit of it and refine it.
So it looks like I don't have it on this flash drive.
Okay.
I could.
I made that.
So I have some renderings from an April 2025 submission, which would have been considered then in May 2025. I could share screen that if that's helpful.
yeah, that would be great. Eric,
Sure.
yeah, that would be great.
Thank you, Max.
Right. Great. And while we're at it, just so you know, Taylor Palmer from our office just texted me. He's actually in the Zoom waiting room. I don't know if there's a chance you might be able to let him in. I think he just wants to observe.
Yep, that'd be great.
I really appreciate that. But here, what I'll do is I'll go ahead and share screen.
Roll out and share.
one.
You go to participants
Yeah,
and make Max a co-host.
so do I put them with us?
Yep,
Okay.
Oh, it looks like he's able to share.
Who's doing it?
So.
here you go.
Yep. So this is the prior renderings. I know that there was a request to see.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, that would be great.
And I can see what angles we have if there's a specific
Yeah,
element
yeah.
you guys are
That's
looking for.
a very helpful angle.
Thank you, Max.
If you
Yep.
could go a little tighter on that, I think you're controlling that, or is Sarah, you are?
I think that's me.
Here, let me give you this. What you call it, an animal.
Yeah. Acoustic.
I think they're old school. Don't always do that. Yeah, the next one is the other one.
so what's helpful to see here? I mean, you said that you're moving away from like the rhythm of the windows to kind of make the facade more interesting. I mean, personally, I think the way that the windows were treated, and it doesn't bother me that there's kind of like an order to the facade. I actually think that's kind of nice. I kind of miss that.
Yeah.
although I understand, you know, what it is that you guys are trying to do, I actually like the order of I mean, I think the kind of the way what the facade was ordered before kind of brought together all these interesting materials, and I think we're losing those those kind of tall horizontal bands on either side of the windows too. Like those got removed from the scope of work, right?
We did remove those, yeah.
And then also there's like those horizontal lines that broke up each floor, which I also thought was kind of interesting. I don't know, what do you guys think?
I think in the original plans that the undulations which we liked,
Yeah.
which kind of broke up the mass and the visual weight of the building. And now we have a very long
Yeah,
continuous mass, which is, I mean, this is a really long building. It's
yeah,
200 something 40 feet.
Well, the one thing, and I hear everything you're saying. The one thing is too, the one nice thing about it is most buildings and even the one next to it are pretty straight and square.
Yeah.
Where the nice, we were, you know, pulling it in and coming into a center like that, does help a lot, especially if you're driving by, you change your perspective. All the, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think that V is really successful. It's in both plans. And I think it's really successful because it does draw your eye to the center and something different is going on there. But to Shane's point, actually, I'll start with a different observation. Getting rid of the railing is a huge,
It's a very-
yeah,
huge gain. I think as it's rendered here, I'm reminded of why we were asking to pull that railing back, but that's now.
I'm sorry, what was the word you used? The thing?
The railing
Yeah, no, you said it's a huge something.
gain.
Gain, yeah.
Aesthetic gain.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
sorry.
agree with you.
But to Shane's point, the last time we talked about the project, we were very much in favor of those vertical window surrounds and the way that the facade was broken up into sort of layers of segments. And I think that's getting lost.
Yeah, let me tell you a challenge with that, just so you're aware of it, is my understanding is that it's coming in with a different material than this. This material doesn't lend itself to that kind of construction. You know, it is the way the material is
Because it's linked.
created, yeah. It's just something we couldn't do.
So I just wanted to jump in to say, I know I ended the share screen on the old rendition. I just wanted to pivot to give Scott the opportunity to kind of emphasize some of the design strengths of the revised proposal with those refinements, with that focus on the facade. So Scott, I'll turn back to you, and I think you have the current plan separately pulled on the screen there. I'm happy to share screen anything you want, but I just wanted to pivot for you.
So I'd like to hear all of your guys' comments on this.
oh,
If you have any others, I mean.
yeah, well, I think also what was interesting before was kind of, there was like the heaviness of the second and third floor, and it was kind of sitting on top of the glass facade, but which was pulled back. And it just looked kind of interesting, and I don't know, I think that was part of the character of the building. And now that they're flushed out, although I can understand why that's happening, and, you know, construction wise, and in terms of the wall assembly and, you know, the lack of a drip edge, like, I totally understand all of that, although, you know, we kind of, I don't know, I mean, I don't want to talk for everybody, but I thought that was a strength design wise of the building. Like, I thought that was interesting and it made it unique, and you know, and now the fact that it's flushed out, although again, I understand why, I think we're kind of losing part of the character, and then there's also in between the storefront doors and windows, that seems visually to be a little bit heavier now, or maybe not, but I think the fact that it's pulled forward and it's flushed out, you're reading it all as kind of one coherent mass instead of, you know, like the storefront section and then like the private floors above. So there's that, and then also just going back to the details that were lost in terms of, like, you know, those horizontal channels that kind of divided the floors and the order of the windows. A lot of that just seemed, and a lot of that's just changed and I'm just kind of trying to, I don't know, personally, I liked a lot of those details.
Yeah.
I think the tough part is with a project like this, you were brought in at kind of a conceptual schematic level. And as we developed it, there were certain things we couldn't do. And I hear what you're saying, so I'm
Yeah.
not sensitive to that. Like the fact that the glass was back and they were using columns, we just can't do that.
Yeah.
It's just a thing that we really can't do to make it viable. What we, some of the things we could look at is like you're saying, you miss some of the quadrants and stuff. And a lot of this is subjective, let's face it.
Yeah.
We know that. What we're trying to do is obviously we're trying to get it so that it's a nice building, obviously it's like folks. But it's able to be viable and be built. So I think the good news is we've taken off some things that were like the railing and stuff, which is good from the standpoint. We thought that was really good. The one thing you were saying, Shane.
Yeah.
You were saying, Shane, is that I get that. It's kind of funny though. You're saying the glass bottom and kind of the floating top almost in a way.
Yeah.
One of the things we were trying to do here was to create, because usually when you have a building, you have a base, a shaft and cap, so this was in an abstract way, you're looking at more as a base instead of the floating second and third floor. So that's what we were trying to do. And it doesn't really show well here, but sir, can we go to the one before? I think it is. Yeah, it doesn't. Let's see, it's illustrated pretty well. Unfortunately, this is the way this angle is. It doesn't really show these, but these come out a few feet. The canopies. So when you see it in real life, you're going to see a lot of canopies. Like looking at it doesn't do it justice. But that was one of the things we were trying to do to compensate for it.
No,
Those canopies plan to be, were they gonna pick up that bronze edge or?
Yeah, they're
Okay.
very similar stuff. And then they come out, and then what we're gonna do is put lettering on top of it. Right now, we don't know what that's gonna be, but the lettering will be on top. So it'll be the canopy coming out, and then, like I said, lettering
We
out
did
and
have a
building.
drawing that spoke to that. And is the canopy itself a glass material?
No, it's a metal frame.
Okay.
Yeah, correct.
And the whole thing is metal. I think if you go to image 32, Sarah, that might be a best look at what the canopies look like schematically. And I will say, I think those have a positive effect. Let's see,
Maybe.
it should be 32 of my,
Can you go up? Yeah, at the very top, maybe? Yeah, it doesn't, you don't see it, but you can see what we're doing is where the entries are.
yeah, it
We're
might be
popping
zoomed out. Yeah, I was looking at the east elevation south and
Yeah,
the east elevation north.
Yeah. And those are popping out. And the thing is the more stores we have, the more retail demand, we don't know how it's gonna break up. They might get 3 window bays, they might get 2.
Right.
So each one of, every store will have different signage and entries and something highlighting it. Nice part is that will always be constantly moving. As time goes on, 5 years, the lease is up, something changes.
yeah, I mean, I understand the changes like in value engineering and, you're kind of committed to like this pretty rendering before materials are spec'd, and then, you selected a material and it makes it different to accomplish the details that are shown in the rendering. I get all that. I guess personally speaking, I don't know. I just feel like we've lost a lot of things that I liked about the building. And I'm not trying to be difficult, but I don't know. That's just how I feel. I mean, is there a way to get back some of those details that we liked with this manufacturer? I mean, do they have like other like extruded trim pieces or something that could be introduced, or is it just those?
Pretty minimal. It's pretty much what you're showing.
Yeah.
Right, yeah. So can you go back to, let's just do the rendering real quick, if you don't mind, to address that. I want to be really specific on what you're saying, you're missing some things. You said very specific that we don't have in front of us, but we know it, was the lines that they have.
Yeah, like the lines and the battens, and then I think I think the kind of the cap on top of the building was more or less the same, like that didn't really change, right? I think that was more or less the same. I mean, it looked maybe a little bit more robust before, but
Yeah, but I think
Kind of
it's
this-
robust because of the railing.
yeah.
I mean,
okay.
I think that this is a pretty successful CAD.
Yeah, that was. That's right.
One of the things, Scott, I'm going back to the last memo that we wrote, after the 12th of May. And we felt like that design was working and we really were just down to like trying to get a little more profile out of the window units and to figure out how the facade was going to meet that overhang. Right, so obviously the overhang issue is no longer an issue, but that's just to kind of give some reason for why Shane might be saying what he's saying, which is kind of where I am too, that was a very good design. We thought we were down to just tweaks and, you know, because of the decision about materials, it's kind of a new design that has, in my mind, some merits. I mean, I think the canopies could be really successful. I think the capital is really good compared to what we is very good compared to what we looked at. I mean, I think you've solved that.
Okay.
I also think the radius question, which was definitely something we were worried about when we put that material, actually do that without obvious sort of
It won't
hexagonal.
be segmented.
Yeah.
It will be very smooth. If I may,
Please.
I hear everything that's saying, and I think we made some good steps. We got rid of the railing, the cap looks good, you know. And basically it does come down to, and I hear, you know, there's some enjoyment of the lines and some of the vertical patterns. So there may be ways that we can get some more lines, you know, break it up a little bit if we need to. We'd have to look at that. But a question I have for you was the DRB. Right now, we wanna make sure that we can move forward for obvious reasons.
Right.
So one of the questions I have is, I'm gonna say it for myself. I'm happy to take a peek at some of those and come back to you, but what I don't wanna do is hold up our process if at all. I mean, I think we're all looking at good intentions.
I think we are. I mean, I feel bound to point out that we invited Westview starting in June. And they have always deferred. So we find ourselves in February, not by our schedule, but by yours, or not yours,
Yeah.
Westview's. So
Mr.
I
Chairman,
I understand your sense of urgency, but it's almost a half a year after our first invitation to return.
and Mr. Chairman, I just wanted to say, on that front, I do thank you for, I know you've been regularly reaching out to us, to invite us to attend. As you could see, there was a shift in the consultant team, and which took some time to, you know, initiate that process and have someone come in and take a second look and confirm what can be feasible, what can be done, what can be built cost efficiently, time efficiently, and how can we be responsive to this body's comments. So it did take some time, and I apologize that it took that time. I think it would just be helpful for, you know, the applicant just to understand what the steps look like moving forward. Just because when we look at the planning board approval resolution, it does note that this body is serving in an advisory role. And then we understand that final decisions are placed in a memo format as recommendations and then filed with the planning board in their files. So we're just trying to get a clear idea, you know, between me and Scott of what next steps typically look like for this body, considering that note from the planning board approval resolution. But we are eager to move this forward, and I do apologize that it took some time to return to you.
No apology needed. I mean, this is the nature of big projects. But I say that just, you know, the sense of urgency that you feel is in some ways self-created, and no apologies needed for that, but that's the reality of it. Max, I suppose, make a recommendation based on what we heard tonight. Judging from what my colleagues are saying, I'm not sure that that's the endorsement that you were hoping for. So we can do that. That probably just sort of kicks the problem to the planning board. I think maybe a more sensible way forward is to think about this for a month with the hope of getting things resolved so that we can write an endorsement and recommendation that you'd probably be happier with. I don't know if anything's gained by hustling things tonight, because I don't feel like I can personally endorse this the way that I thought I could, based on where we were in May. If you'd like a little straw poll among us, we can just sort of voice our thoughts on this. I don't think we're far. I think there are real merits to the new design, but it's pretty radically different from what we last saw.
Yeah.
I would appreciate the board's comments, and I would propose, Mr. Chairman, although obviously we'll defer to you. I don't know if it's possible, for example, if we receive your comment, and I'm just kind of spitballing here, so bear with me. But if we received your comments this evening, for example, could we prepare a revised materials, for example, for your internal review ahead of the next meeting, or does one have to present the changes at each regularly scheduled meeting? Just
No,
trying to keep the train moving on our end here.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's actually a very good idea. If there's something that occurs to you, Scott, in the next week or two, we're always open to have that.
That'd be great.
Circulate.
I'd rather do it that way.
Yeah, what we can't do is take action outside of a public meeting. Everybody knows that, but you know, informally, we can do that. I think we're as interested in moving this along in an expeditious way. If that's acceptable all around, I think that's the best course of action, that we'd like to see reactions, thoughts. We can have a certain level of sort of off-meeting conversation about it, but obviously we can't approve anything.
Yeah, I'll speak for myself and working with different boards. I prefer that, because it's tough when you're like working in a bubble coming in.
Right.
So I'd much rather do it. This is one thing is to hear, which I haven't been here myself, and is that the good, I'm always gonna flip the good news first. We got rid of some, you know, we did a couple things that are fine, which is good. So that's moving along and checking off the boxes, shall we say. But it seems like from what I'm hearing, I just wanna, and I'd like to hear your comments too. From what my takeaway is, it's more the second and third floor, the way that's being treated mostly. I know there was a hope for having some overhang. I understand that. So let me see if we do it as an overhang another way. But it seems like what I'm taking away is the battens and rhythms and some of the, what I would call the scores and facade, seem like the major things that I have specifically.
Well, so just to clarify, so I mean, I'm just looking at this rendering.
Yep.
I thought what was interesting is like there's a different language to the material and the design of the first floor. Whereas now, you know, you brought some of those battens as kind of like panels between the storefront windows. And I'm not even saying like that has to be the final design. I'm just pointing out what was interesting and what we liked before. So there was that, you know, there's like a separation between the retail space and the private space. And then personally, again, I don't want to speak for everybody. I like the order of the windows kind of sitting within the grid, like, you know, there's like the vertical and horizontal grid. And I understand the challenges now that the materials have actually been specified and, you know, things have been value engineered. I know that there's some details that are not going to be feasible anymore, but just in terms of the design and what we liked, I feel like we've moved away from a lot of those things. And if we can get back to something, you know, that's even conceptually like kind of, you know, there again, I feel like that would be like a positive development. And then the other thing is just to clarify the cap. I knew there was something different. There was like a rounded cap before. And again, I know, and now that the materials have been realized, that might not be possible, but there was, just to clarify again, there was like a difference between this kind of like, top cap of the building and when what's being proposed now, you see what I'm talking about, right?
Well, it's really more this, if I'm reading this correctly, the way I've always read that, this is the same material up in here, it's just a metal cap, but then they
Yeah.
have a line here.
There's like a little bit of a reveal and it might be rounded, but anyway, I don't know. I'm pointing it out. Again, I'm just trying to wrap my head around the differences, you
Yeah.
know?
The tricky part is, and it's. When we come in and we're going from a schematic and
Yeah.
conceptual
Yep.
to the reality of doing it. One of the things is, I know you've mentioned value engineering, some of it was value engineering, some of it wasn't. This is actually a pretty costly material.
Yeah.
Some nice material. So I just want to not think that that's the only driving force here. So, some of it was just viability of construction. So I do hear what you're saying. Some of it, I just want to set, an expectation.
Yeah, no,
By
cool.
doing all glass on the front, we just can't do that.
Yeah.
We can't do the post and beam that was originally proposed.
Yeah.
Which unfortunately was, and that's why we're here. So we can certainly take a peek at some of the things. I'm glad we made some of the things, got rid of some of the things that were the problem, but we'll see what we can do.
Mhm. I'll just chime in with a couple of thoughts. One is, I think in the first design, the variety of the fenestration was done within the same grid or
Yeah.
box.
Yep.
But there were, I think, 5 different variations, and we really had no objection to that.
And there was an order, of the fenestration happening within the kind of cells of the grid almost,
Correct.
whereas I feel like we moved away from that.
Yeah. And not necessarily in a bad direction. I mean,
Yeah.
There's also something interesting about the variety of
Yeah.
windows. And that's maybe a reason that, we didn't really have a chance to look at these things side by side and think that out. So that's one thought. The other thought is, I'm wondering with that canopy material, is there a way, if you can do it on select storefront entry doors, is there a way to do more of it? To kind of get a little more separation, more obvious separation between the living space and the commercial space.
Yeah. We'll take a look at it.
And I think the new window design on the facade, and your concept of, the kind of changing nature as you move across the building, I think that's actually kind of interesting, but maybe go further in that direction and I don't know, lean more into that. Like if we're not gonna get back to this, which, I understand why, and we're not trying to force your hand to get back to this if it's not reasonable, but I think maybe just try and listen to,
Go ahead.
what it is that we found interesting about the building, and maybe it's achievable with this new window concept,
Can
which is,
I ask you to flip that over?
yeah.
I know you're looking at something, yeah. No, the
Yeah.
reason is, I know you're saying do it something more, I don't know what your word was, further or more extreme. We thought this was pretty, if you look at what we're doing, it's really dense over here.
Yeah.
And then we really break it up over here, so it is a lot of variation that we were doing.
And it's not that it's not interesting, it's just, I guess from our perspective, it's just so different than what we had approved before that we're trying to, I don't know, trying to negotiate what it is that we like
that
before.
gets back to something I said earlier, that I think in our mind, we were sort of conditioned for the tiniest changes
Yeah,
to what we looked at in May, and we're seeing something different that has lots of merits.
yeah,
But
It's pretty radically different.
not a lot of time to really take them in and weigh them against. it.
Yeah.
That's fair.
yeah.
So-
I think that window design is interesting. It's just, I guess it's just, and it doesn't have to be, we don't have to get back to this.
That's why I do.
But it's just that if I could choose between the two, I just think this design is just much more interesting. It's just more dynamic and I don't know. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think this is about the battens on the windows that we saw last year.
But I don't even know if those would make sense anymore with this window
No, I don't
layout.
think they would,
So,
but I
and
thought they were there to break up 120
Yeah,
foot stretches. And this is also broken up, but it's broken up in a sort of planar way rather than a way that plays with really.
Admittedly, it is, yeah,
Yeah,
because we had to go to a different material.
yeah,
Yeah,
understand,
no, for sure.
understand.
We're like, what can we do to give it its interest and sophistication?
How does this sound as a plan? We, can confer, between meetings, or we will confer and try to come up with a list of things that you might direct you to think about, and you'll have your list as well, with the idea of a March meeting, fingers crossed to decide this. And we'll try to be really responsible and come up with a short list of what we would like to look at.
Well, I'm not putting you on the spot. How long do you think it would take for us to get short lists about?
Within the week, for sure. For sure, much shorter, actually. Let's say by the weekend, by the end of the week. Can we do that?
Yeah.
I don't
Thank
think it's
you,
a
Mr.
terribly long list. Sure.
Oh, I just wanted to say thank you, Mr. Chairman, for that. And what I'm envisioning then, so we will have that list. We will explore the updates that we can make, the refinements. We'll connect with Scott. We'll create that set, and we'll submit it back to your board. And as we approach March, I would just offer, if any of the board members have the opportunity to look at the materials, the revised materials subsequent to that submission, and have any comments or thoughts, or oh, I'm still looking for XYZ, or did you provide ABC? We're here all the time. Feel free to reach out to us, and we can provide that additional information so we can have a full and comprehensive package moving into the March meeting, with the idea of hopefully bringing things to a neat end at that March meeting. But I just wanted to make sure that it was understood that there was an open line of communication. If you guys felt you needed any other information on top of what we submit, we're happy to provide that. Assuming Scott doesn't think I've gone crazy over promising.
Does that sound reasonable?
It does, yeah.
Okay.
We're gonna respond to it, and we would offer to, have responses back. That would be great. 'Cause, I started off the meeting, and I mean it sincerely, is that we all want to give.
Absolutely. We work on that assumption. And I think, just, to comment on tone, we ended up kind of focusing on things that we weren't as pleased with. I'm sure that when I communicate with you this short list, we can include things like that public space, that's really successful. And I think there's some other things that we would encourage you to stay with. So let's make that the plan. You have my promise. You'll have it by the end of the business week. And I'm hoping more like 48 hours.
That'd be great too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you,
Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks
very much.
Thanks. Would it be okay? I was gonna say, I think if you have these to spare,
I do.
how about 2 more? Yeah, that way everybody's got.
Is there another?
Yes.
Yeah, there is actually. He'll be back in time for the meeting.
But I just want to make sure there's one.
Yeah, I think this one has some.
No, that's from your board approval, just for a reminder. Give me 1 second.
I don't think we need to hold on to the same place. They can do that.
Do you guys want these samples? Or I
How
can
about
just
you
keep
bring
bringing
it
it back.
next week? Yeah, or next month, I think.
Oops. Yeah, this is one.
Okay,
Here, these are the one ones.
okay, that's terrific. Thank you very much. Bob.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Pleasure to work with you. Thank you. Okay, so let's be fair. Yeah, set for everybody. Thank you. Okay, and I've got. I'm feeling you can see each of this. That was great. Okay, everyone, we'll return to that. So as outlined right at the top of the meeting, I'd like now to suspend the DRB HPC meeting in order to open a joint meeting with our colleagues from the planning board with the idea of looking at HPC 2507, the proposed visitor center at Huguenot Street. Is everybody comfortable with that plan? And then
Sounds good.
return to our meeting after that.
And then, to the board's knowledge, I'm gonna end this meeting and begin it on the planning board Zoom.
Okay,
just so we keep that record, and then when we're done, we'll
Well,
go back to your meeting.
perfect, yeah, that's great.
So for anybody from the public who's watching, this meeting will be ending and you can access it from the planning board.